Hello everyone, Donny here. Welcome to Violins Please, the final episode of the Football Soccer Management Series. I've had great fun starting this part of the retro series with Football Manager 1982 way back in May 2023. Correct, it seems a long time ago now. We've released well over 100 episodes in this series where we've been looking at the football and soccer games from the good to the amazing, to the utterly awful, to the ones which were, okay, I guess. But we're looking, in this final episode, we're looking at the series called Best of the Rest. Now, these are games that, in some cases, they weren't even made, so we're just mentioning them. In some cases, they were made, but I didn't put them as full episodes for various reasons. Mostly because I was awful at playing them and they didn't really deserve a full episode, and so for some games I didn't think they were worth playing because I didn't think you guys would probably watch it for long. So we're looking at the final list of games here. Again, if I did put all these as episodes and all the others from Best of the Rest Part 1 as episodes, we would have carried on this series well into 2027 at this rate. But the videos would have come a lot more weirder and they wouldn't last as long. I think each episode would probably only last about 5 to 10 minutes. So again, I decided not to do it. I decided to put them on here in this Best of the Rest compilation. I think this is a better way of doing it. But anyway, intro done. Let's look at these final list of games then that we're going to look at in this series. So the first one we're looking at is a game called Big Match Soccer, released in 1983 by Winters Limited. It was a ZX Spectrum 16K only game. Now, we didn't review many 16K games in this series. I think one of the ones we did was Star Soccer, which was actually quite fun to play. If you haven't seen that episode, then go back and please see it. Now, this was a full price game, £5.50. And not really much I can find about this game, but it was just a simple where you're using the keys here, the Q, W, E, R keys here to kick the football game. I tried to play this and I didn't really do very well, hence another reason why the episode was not done. I'll quickly show you the screen inlay, and here's the screen cassette inlay. So it's basically a two-player game, Big Match Soccer, 3D football game with full control, players, throw-ins, fouls. So there you go. So that is Big Match Soccer. We'll head to the next one. So this was Bobby Charlton's Soccer, released, well, never released. It was going to be released in 1985 by publisher Day ACC Limited, UK company, for the 48K. It was going to be released full price game $11.95. It was available on the BBC Micro, which it was actually made for, and we will have a look at the BBC Micro screen, and Commodore 64. Named after probably one of England's most famous footballers, Bobby Charlton. Amazing footballer, played for Man United for most of his career. Obviously was involved in England's World Cup final in 1966 and carried on playing for England for a couple more years after that. Featured in the 1970 World Cup as well before retiring a couple of years later. Amazing guy, amazing footballer. So we'll quickly have a look at this screenshot, but now again this is the BBC Micro screenshot because it was actually released on the BBC Micro and Acorn Electron as well. So you can see basically what it might have looked like, slightly better graphics because obviously the ZX Spectrum had 48K while the BBC Micro had 32K. But anyway, that is Bobby Charlton's Soccer. So the next game is going to be a quick one because there's not much information I can give you about this one. This was going to be called 5-a-side Soccer, done by Mastertronic Limited. So I'm guessing it would have been a budget game. Available on the ZX Spectrum 48K. It was going to be also available on the Amstrad CPC. One player, and it was going to be a soccer game. There was, from what I've experienced from these 5-a-side soccer games, a lot of them were missed and hits. So I'm guessing they probably didn't decide to make it because they probably didn't think it was going to be that successful, but we would never know. But anyway, that's 5-a-side Soccer. Now, if you think Peter Shilton's Handball Maradona was the only real game that you played as a goalie, with the exception of also penalty soccer as well, then think not. As part of the Spec Soccer compilation, don't get that confused by the way of Specky Soccer, which was a really good, sensible soccer clone. This game was called Goalie. You will find it nowhere at all. It was released in 1986. I can't really give too much details about it because there isn't much around, but it looks like you play as a goalie and you save penalties. It's simple as that. So if anyone can find Goalie, then great. But sadly, the distribution's denied and it'd be very hard to find this. But anyway, we thought it deserves a mention because the Goalie games are very hard to find on the Spectrum, and this is definitely one of them. So this is Goalie. Now the next game, my Spanish friends will probably know more about this than me because this game was a very good title though, because I've never seen many games called this. Offside, the soccer game. Again, it was never released. Done by New Frontier Spanish company, created by two Spanish guys there, people. It was going to be done in Spanish. Machine type was ZX Spectrum 48K. It was going to be a sport game. Actually, now on Spectrum Computing on this website, you can actually click here, development material. So if you ever wondered what the game might have looked like, then you can go and click on this material. But then again, I haven't got really much more information about what year this would have been, maybe in the 80s, or could have been a more current game. But anyway, that is Offside, the soccer game. The next game we will look at is actually a game that was actually made into an episode, but then I decided not to actually release it as an episode because again, I didn't think the content there was going to get many views, and it was a very simple game. Basically, it's called Penalty Soccer. You basically hit a football and try to save it. It was also known as Penalty Soccer Simulator or Penalty Soccer, spelled differently there. Done by Game Busters in 1990. It was a budget game released on the ZX Spectrum 48K. We will quickly now have a quick look at it as I continue to talk to you about it. So here we go. So again, you'll see a double looking back at retro games here because this game was actually released as an episode. So yeah, this episode was only going to be about 15 minutes long, and most of that was talking about the reviews and the game intros I do for most of these games. But I decided not to actually plonk it as an episode because during that time there was actually bigger releases that I wanted to release earlier for various reasons, and by the time I got around to actually trying to put Penalty Soccer into the retro series, I thought, nah, I'd rather not put it in now. So this is Penalty Soccer. So again, you're seeing some unique video gameplay here because this was never released as its own episode. Maybe sometime in the future I might do it, I do not know. But this was actually Penalty Soccer. So there we go. Cult games. Now, if you know my channel really well, we did many cult games, football related games. They did so many, but there are also a couple of games that were never released, and this is one such game called Scottish League. So it would have been done in the Scottish League. I'm guessing the dates would have been late 80s, early 90s, and also on the ZX Spectrum 48K, a management game. So it's just a shame that this was actually never created. I've got no more information about that, but again, it would have been quite unique playing in the Scottish League other than the normal English leagues. So, but again, this game was never released. Now the next game we're going to look at is called Soccer Coach. It was done by D&H Games, those people who did those amazing games like Football Director 2, International Manager, Football Director 2 Player League. So yeah, it was called Soccer Coach, and it was going to be done in 1988 on the Spectrum 48K, but looks like they decided not to create it in the end. It would have been a shame actually. It's a shame they didn't, because it would have been nice to see what this game would have been like, because from their previous track record, D&H Games made some really good games, and this I'm sure would have been a really good game. But again, there was a various reason why it was never made, and so we never saw what happened to it. So this was, or never was in the end, Soccer Coach. Now the next game we're looking at is quite a unique one. It's basically Soccer Director. For various reasons I decided not to record an episode of this, because basically all you're doing is betting on results and betting on teams' performances and betting on shares and stuff like that. And I would probably think that would be a bit boring to watch. But again, this was a budget game done by GTI Software in 1990. Got just one review, 75%, so a good decent review there. And it was done also obviously on the Spec 48K. I have got some screenshots to show you though, so we will show you what this is what the
cassette inlay screen will say. So exciting game of skill, strategy and financial manipulation set in the world of top class soccer. Build and destroy teams in quest to own top clubs. So it's mostly to do with shares. You are a director, but you don't do much directing. you can see that you can play the season, buy, sell shares. It's more like I would say not betting. I think it's more like a stocks and shares type game. So if you do like stock and shares type game, then definitely try Soccer Director. And this is what one of the screenshots look like. Again, I have to zoom this up so you can see what it looks like. So you can put your shares on various teams and just see how well you do on the season, how the season gets on. Like if you bet your shares on a club doing really well, you get more money for it. If you bet your shares on a club doing badly, you'll lose money, stuff like that. So yeah, anyway, that is Soccer Director. Now with Soccer Pinball, I was actually very close to actually making this into an episode. I thought it'd be quite unique to show something slightly different with soccer, but then I decided not to in the end because other games came up and I thought I'd put them in instead of this one. And then by the time I decided I could put this in, I thought, nah, I think we've done enough. But anyway, Soccer Pinball done by Codemasters. Again, it's very hard to find Codemasters games, especially the Dizzy ones. But this was released back in 1992. It's basically pinball with a soccer element on the screen. That's what it was. It got quite decent reviews, 73%, also available on Amiga, Amstrad and Commodore 64. Quite late on in the Spectrum's life this was, 1992. Got a couple of screenshots to show you. So this is the inlay screen here. Fast, fanatical football, play the printable, get throw-ins, destroy the defence, be a pinball wizard, grab the high scores and shoot for goal. So yeah, it's definitely a game, if you can find it, that is unique to play. I think there is a 128K version and a 48K version of this, and I'll show you the screenshot which you've probably seen before, but I'll just explode it up a little bit here. So there you go, so you can see it's basic pinball done in a soccer style. So if you can find this game, then if you do like pinball and you do like football, then give it a go. Now back in Best of the Rest Part 1, we had 4 soccer simulators where 4 games were put into one compilation. Now here is Spec Soccer. Now they did the same here at Top Spec. They put a number of games and plonk it as one compilation because then you get more value for money. So the compilation was £5.35 on the ZX Spectrum 48K, and with that you've got, as you can see here on the one side of the tape, you've got 4 games. On the other side you've got another 4 games. You can see some games here which one of them we've already mentioned, which was Goalie on this episode. But then if you look at the others, you've got Mexico 86. Not much more, you can't view these games or play these games at all. But it's worth mentioning them because all the hard work people put in to make these games. So here's Mexico 86 based on the 1986 World Cup. And then you've got Mini League. Can't really say much more about that. Some sort of spreadsheet there. And then you've also got Super Quiz game, obviously. Hoping it's much easier than the Ultimate Football Quiz, which was blinking difficult. And then Goalie we've featured already. League Winners, another sort of like, I guess, Football Manager clone of some sort. I don't know, because again we can't play it. FA Cup, yes, there was another FA Cup game around. Again, only one screenshot here, so sadly I can't give you much more information there. Super Quiz, another quiz game, which kind of looks like very similar to the other one. Have I clicked the wrong one? No, it's the same game. Super Quiz and Super Quiz again. Okay, and then Striker, which looks, at least it's got a bit of colour, this one. Again, don't get this confused with the other Striker game, which is a very unique game. This looks like you've got some sort of skills there, then you have to shoot past these goals and get in. But again, these were 8 games based on one tape for £5.35, so you definitely got your money's worth, I think, there. Here's the inlay screen. As you can see, it was done by post, so just send it to this address and you get the game. Don't send it now, of course, because this was 40 odd years ago. But anyway, that's Spec Soccer. As with the Rothmans quiz that we did in the last episode of the Best of Rest Part 1, we were going to feature another quiz game called the Ultimate Soccer Quiz, which had its own episode, but then I decided to merge it with the Rothmans game, and then again decided not to record it and put it as the episode because I didn't think many people would like watching quiz shows and stuff like that, or soccer quiz shows. They would prefer more the management or the actual kicking the ball around. But anyway, this game was released in 1985, Marksman Software UK Limited. I will plonk it on in the background. So this was the episode that was never released. So, and we will now skim through it, so you can see me looking at it, talking about it. Obviously, I've turned the sound off, and this is the actual quiz itself. So it's multiple choice. So I remember this one being actually a lot more difficult than Rothman's, because the questions were, as you can see here, who were the champions of 1959-1960. So a lot of the time I was just guessing. So I can see why it was called the Ultimate Football Quiz, because this one was a lot more difficult than the Rothmans one. But again, for another reason, I did not decide to fully release this as an episode, because I think you guys probably would not be interested in this, to be honest with you. But it's still enjoyable. If you want a quiz game, if you can really test your memory back to the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, then try this one. It's either available on various websites. And this is it. This is the final game we're going to look at in the Football Soccer Retro series. So, with a sad heart, it's Vinny Jones Soccer Spectacular, which wasn't that spectacular because it wasn't available. Missing in action, basically, MIA. So it might be made, but I've never seen it. I don't think anyone else has heard it. Vinny Jones was the famous footballer, now actor. He did play for Wimbledon and Wales in the 80s. Now he's more famous for being an actor. Bit of a hardman, so he got a lot of bookings and stuff like that. So this game was done originally by Screen 7 Limited UK company, creators an Irish company, Emerald Software Limited, done in 1989, but sadly the game was never made, so I can't really show you anything more than that. So yeah, so this is the last soccer game we're looking at. So many thanks for everyone who's stuck with me for the whole couple of years and all the episodes of looking at all these games. The retro series has not ended. We are going to carry on looking at sporting games. I'm hoping to do the next sporting games. Maybe it'll be rugby games. Not as many as football, because there was well over 100 football games, which we covered almost 80-90% of them. So many thanks for sticking with me for these episodes. We will be doing a best of series later on, and maybe even my top 10 football specky games, my own top 10, which we will look at that. And yeah, so if you're stuck with me, then many thanks for sticking with me for this video and also for the whole series. And also, if you have subbed, then thank you very much for subscribing. And also, if you haven't subbed, then please do. It'd be great if you do, because then you'll see me go into more retro games, more sporting retro games, and various other games from various other series as well. But anyway, this is Donut Donny saying goodbye from the football soccer element of the retro series, and thanks for tuning in. What are your thoughts about this game? Please let me know in the comments. Many thanks for watching this video. Greatly appreciated. If you like this channel, please send me a like or subscribe.